So I think this is it from the organizational side, Katharina, everything? Okay, fine. Then I would ask Anne van Neuwenhuis, so for the first welcome. Good morning, Anne.
Van Nieuwenhuizen.
Ah.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning here and abroad. Welcome to the Museum of Industry. Welcome to this former cotton mill where the spinning machines were still running until 1975. Did you notice the smell of oil here in this building? Well, if you do, it's the oil from the machines that once ran here at full speed. So there is no better place for an international industrial heritage conference than this place, a cotton mill. After all, cotton was the motor for the industrial revolution that set foot in Ghent 2 centuries ago. At that time, Lievenbouwens really smuggled a mule jenny, a spinning mule, from England to Ghent. Thanks to this smuggling, Ghent developed into one of the first industrial cities in Europe. Ghent remained an important center of industry until the mid-20th century. The cityscape was really dominated by smoking factory chimneys and densely populated working class areas. The growing textile industry gave a boost to other sectors as well in Ghent. The heyday of Ghent's textile industry ended with the economic crisis of the 70s, the 1970s. One factory after another was closed. In the photo exhibition here next to us, you will see how only a few decades ago, Ghent was still full of impressive textile factories. We named them the cathedrals of industry. Photographer Alexander Dumaret took the last year pictures of the former textile factories in our city. They show how some of the factories have been demolished, some have been repurposed, and some are just standing there, empty, waiting for a new destination. The exhibition ended 2 weeks ago, but we left the picture hanging for you all to see. So from the 1970s on, one textile factory after another closed down. Many traces of the first and second industrial revolution have disappeared over the years. The Ghent authorities have made efforts, though, to conserve machines, objects, and other traces of our industrial past. And that's how the first museum showing the symbols of the industrial culture was established in 1976. It was then called the Museum for Industrial Archaeology and Textile, today the Museum of Industry. A few years ago, our museum initiated a large-scale revamp operation. All permanent exhibitions were updated and the existing workshops were integrated into well-equipped places of creation. In 2018, the museum was renamed and the main exhibition on the 5th floor, entitled About People and Machines, was launched with a creative thinker studio. This thinker studio is a place where visitors can experiment with different techniques and materials, and in so doing, discover how machines work The exhibition 3 Centuries of Graphic Industry was added in 2019 on the 4th floor and includes a lively print shop. Finally, the exhibition 100% Textiles was opened in 2020 on the 3rd floor, including a see-through textile workshop at the center of the exhibition. So now something about our collection. The museum's collection tells the story of the industrial development from 1750 to the present day. The diverse and valuable collection represents different facets of the industrial chain, from producer and production process to finished product, distribution and consumer. The collection includes machines, work clothes, promotional materials, interviews with managers and workers, as well as finished products from various industries. They come from companies and private collectors. Eye catchers are certainly a twining mill dating from 1789 and the spinning mule or mule Jenny that I mentioned before, the smuggled one. The Museum of Industry's focus is not just on technology, but also on the socio-economic aspect. The collection presents personal stories of people from different generations and backgrounds in connection with the bigger picture of our industrial society. At its core are the museum's textile and printing collections. Both sub-collections are technically and historically coherent and complete with unique and internationally renowned objects. Other sub-collections such as energy, metallurgy, telecommunication, as well as marketing and publicity serve as reference collections or support the core collection. Some of our objects are shown in the permanent and temporary exhibitions, but the majority is carefully kept in the brand new central heritage depots of the city of Ghent. Making the collection also accessible online, though, the museum's website is an important element in maximizing the collection's value. In addition to traditional collection building, the Museum of Industry is increasingly focusing on digital collection building. This concerns both the physical collections that are being digitized and the digitally born collection of audio recordings, audiovisual sources, and photos. The most remarkable thing about our collection, however, is that a lot of the machines are actually still working and being demonstrated. So the museum is not just an exhibition space, but also a dynamic workplace where new ideas and creations are conceived and shared. 2 museum floors, the textile and printing departments, are active workplaces where makers, we call them makers, act as living vessels, transferring traditions, skills, and knowledge from the past to the next generations. The museum has presented itself as a living museum for many years and thus occupies a special place in the museum landscape. It intends to further reinforce this focus on experience and co-creation in the future. By seeing tools being used or machines in action, it is much easier for visitors to understand how they function and what the technology is behind them. This offers high educational value. It is also linked to intangible cultural heritage, namely the transfer of techniques and knowledge by skilled people. The museum strives for inclusive activities. Anyone can be a maker. A visitor can be a maker. Museum visitors are encouraged and inspired by demonstrations and interactive installations in the museum to set to work themselves during their visits or a workshop. They can build things in the Tinker Studio with the materials available and the techniques that are explained. Or they can print, prepare, and fold while visiting the exhibition about the history of printing. Also, a volunteer can be a maker. The numerous volunteers in the textile and printing departments are skilled people who have a passion for their craft. They come from diverse backgrounds, ranging from retired industrial workers to art students. They demonstrate and maintain the museum's machinery collection and constantly experiment with different printing and textiles techniques. The volunteers learn from each other. The museum learns from the volunteers and vice versa. This way, we ensure that knowledge is not lost. We work together to create our own textile products, paper and printed material available in our museum shop. External designers and artists can also be makers. Every maker who shows an interest in the museum's collection and topics is welcome. They can get creative in the textile and printing departments in various ways, drawing inspiration from the past to make new creations. We already have experimented with artists in residence last spring. On the one hand, to explore all possibilities of artists in residence. On the other hand, to introduce the museum staff to a new machine in the exhibition, the semi-automatic Jacquard loom TC2. Our dream is that the museum becomes a place where visitors and all kinds of communities come into contact with each other, feel recognized, and are enabled to share their knowledge and practices. Since 2018, ETWI has been part of the Museum of Industry. ETWI is the Expertise Center for Technical, Scientific, and Industrial Heritage. Through ETWI, we aim to bring together the thousands of people in Flanders and Brussels that are involved in technical, scientific, and industrial heritage. Not just for our own museum collection, but for all types of collections in our country. Through ETWI, we want to encourage, support, and advise everyone involved in exchanging knowledge and expertise in order to preserve our valuable heritage, our tools, our instruments, devices, and machines, but also our applications, our knowledge, our techniques, and crafts. ETWI shares its knowledge and offers its service to heritage institutions like museums and archives, but also to private collectors or volunteers in order to secure all industrial heritage for the future. What an ambition. It is thanks to ETWID and its national ERIH representative, Yuri Januarius, that the ERIH Congress is taking place here in our beautiful city. So I wish you once again, all a very warm welcome in our museum. Enjoy your stay in our lovely city, and may the next 48 hours brings a lot of inspiration, insights, and connection. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anne, for this warm welcome. Very interesting. I think many of the topics you mentioned are topics of the conference today and of our future program. Now I would like to ask Meinrad Grevenich, the ERIH president, for a brief welcome note.
Die Christiane Baum, dear Anne van Nieuwenhuis, director of the Museum of Industry. Good morning, dear ERIH family, dear ERIH colleagues. It's nice to see you in the actual presence here in the Museum of Industry in Ghent today after a long time. It's also very nice to see you, dear colleagues, on screen online. And I send a hello. No, we are 125 registered delegates from 20 countries, and I send a hello to the delegates in China and Brasilia. I send you all a very warm welcome. We have an exciting program today. ERIH, dear colleagues, is the largest cultural network in Europe with over 2,000 sites in all European countries. ERIH is industrial heritage, ERIH is industrial culture, ERIH is cultural tourism. Industrial heritage is the greatest transformation in the history of mankind since human habitation thousands of years ago. Industrial heritage is the fantastic, authentic monuments that move us. Industrial culture has given us in Europe the greatest prosperity in the history of mankind. Since the beginning of the 19th century, average working hours have halved. Average incomes adjusted for inflation have increased tenfold. In the sum, there are 20 incoming more. We have the best medical and social care of the woman present at last of third life to be over 100, men lagging a bit. But industrial culture, industrial heritage is also the climate crisis and the corona pandemic, which brings us to the topic of your conference, resilience. How industrial heritage sites accepted the pandemic challenge and survived the crisis. Thank you for your hospitality here at the Industrial Museum in Ghent, dear Anne, and also dear Yuri Januarius. Thank you very much. Thank you for the organization, dear Christiane Baum and your team. Thank you for the online coordination, Katharina Hornscheid. Thank you very much, and also the team of the technical. Thank you to the ERI board for accompanying the inner preparation. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you all, dear ERI family, for discussing and developing the central team today. Thank you very much. Now we can start.
Okay, thank you very much. Now the presenter is gone. Now the presenter. On the chair. Okay. Thank you. So thank you for the welcome words. We have heard that Ghent is a beautiful city. This picture was taken Tuesday night when we arrived in Ghent out for dinner. You see here, especially for the online delegates who are not with us, it's really wonderful here. And since yesterday afternoon, also the weather is wonderful. So I think we have 2 brilliant days here. I will give a brief update on what's new in ERI. Those of you who have been to the ERI General Assembly yesterday, you'll probably realize that some facts are repeated. I hope not to be boring, and I keep it brief. We heard yesterday, and I think everybody of you knows, that the current challenges for the sites for culture and tourism at the moment are, of course, digitalization, which was boosted by the pandemic situation and forced many of us to technically be more equipped and to get new skills and to really use it. And we were used to many online meetings in the meantime, but it's also in your museums and in the sites, the digitalization is more demanded for visitor service and for interpretation on site. So as we heard already yesterday, this is probably one of the big tasks for now, but also for the future. We heard about changing audiences yesterday also. What are the demands? What do we have? Do we have people with migration background? Do we have other people to come in? Do we have diversity? So also this is a fact that we need to address in the coming years. And of course, climate change. We in Germany had catastrophe flood events during the late summer, and I think some other countries also. We see when we come here that we have to register our cars. We see that electronic mobility is a big topic. We were discussing, is it beneficial for museums and sites if cars are banned from the inner city or not? How can bus groups enter your sites? Especially, I think all these topics are really also a challenge for the sites at the moment. And of course, the consequences of the pandemic, the lack of income you had or still have, the loss of visitors and all the changes you have. So I think these are the major challenges at the moment for industrial heritage. And this is what we addressed. You know that we expire with our current Creative Europe funding end of November this year. And we are hopeful that we might get another funding. We're submitting an application in end of August for the next funding period, 21 to 27. So we don't know yet the result. So keep your fingers crossed, please, for us. And if this funding comes, we would like to have a program which consists of 6 work packages, which is, of course, the project management, as always, networking, training, providing advice to professionals, representing and advocating industrial heritage, then collection and dissemination of data, and communication and dissemination. I'll briefly explain what we think could be behind there, but you know from the last years that we are always very happy when you contribute and let us know and give your ideas, and this is what we hope to start in this afternoon with our workshops. So networking on European level, we will continue the networks we already have on a European level with all the organizations. But I think what is more demanding in future is also a cross-sectoral networking, not only with cultural networks, but more or less with tourism networks, maybe also with networks who are dealing with environmental protection. So I think we need to widen and broaden our perspective and see who else is there outside, who could we link to, and who would be interesting to network with. We will, of course, continue to have ERI conferences and workshops, depending on the amount of money we have, the question of scale. We will be next year in Luxembourg. Yesterday, we received an invitation for 2023 to the Basque Country, so I think future ERI conferences at least have a venue. So yeah, we will see how this goes. Workshops will be, I think, online, but also physical, hopefully again. The frameworks we are looking at the moment is, of course, the European Green Deal and the European Cultural Green Paper that Europanestor launched in the springtime. I think these are both important frameworks we have to look in and see what they give us as guidelines for the future work. Also, the new European Bauhaus, which links to sustainability, to social life, to how do we want to live in future, I think also very important. And of course, diversity will be an important framework also for our future work. So there are different concepts that we would like to observe and integrate in our work. We would love to continue the Twinning of Sites program, but we hope to open it up to ERIH on tour, because we realized that so far only 2 sites could twin and meet with each other. In future, we think it should also be possible for bigger groups like regional or local networks which are interested to exchange, that we support them by helping them with travel costs or organization things, so that you can visit each other, learn from each other, and benefit from on-site exchange. Training and providing advice to professionals. We started, as I already told yesterday, a cooperation that is called European Academy of Industrial Heritage, where we have now a full pack of lectures. Who is interested in this can contact Adam Hajduga, our vice president. He is, I think, the master of this project. We did a first study and work camp in Berlin this year, where 15 young students and people worked on industrial heritage and exchanged experience. So we are future offer webinars and trainings. So we think we can continue this program, or would like to continue this program as part of this work package. Representing and advocating industrial heritage. Yesterday, the new and old board was elected. Congratulations again. All people from the old board came to the new board, and additionally, Javi Pertas came as a new board member. And I think last night, Javi, you already experienced what it means to be a board member. Of course, the board will continue its work to represent the network and be active for the network. And of course, all our national representatives will also be active for the network. And thank you at this point again for all the work you do in your countries. I think this is very, very helpful. And this is also very, very good, since we have you speaking the language, having your national networks and having your national contacts. I think the idea of a European network really comes down to national and regional level. And of course, we have the members who are ambassadors of our networks, and we see that the network is continuously growing. Yesterday, we reported that since the last meeting, we have 19 new members, and that we have a couple of more sites coming in being interested, so we will continue to expand our network. We will continue, hopefully, to do a very successful format, the Work It Out event. This year, 2021, was the 4th edition of this dance event with 29 videos provided. I think it was a very good and brilliant event. I told you yesterday that we had in Berlin at the Cultural Brewery a live stream where we had a live stream on Facebook and on our social wall. And again, a big congratulations to the 3 winners of our online competition, the one with the most likes for their videos on Facebook. So first place went to Asturian Museum of Steel Industry in Langreo in Spain. The second one to Ukraine, the coking plant ArcelorMittal. And the third one was for Poland, Ruda Slaska. So congratulations again for winning this competitions, and thank you for all the sites who participated and provided the wonderful videos. I'm sure who looked at it liked it a lot, and we hope to continue this activity. We will also like to continue the Linking Europe activity, you know, the virtual exhibition where we try to link European sites, find machines, tools, persons, or architecture which are linked to each other, and tell the story that European industrialization was really European and how it was linked at the time. We will continue to distribute the brochure. You will shortly get a Google form to let us know how many copies you would like to have. Some copies were here on the table or are here on the table. And we will, of course, ask further distribute our exhibitions. We have the traveling exhibition change with an impact to make the network really visible and give you some ideas how you can show your area membership at your sites. We will also continue communication and dissemination. As Rainer Klenner, our webmaster, explained yesterday, the increase in our website is really huge. We have more than 2,000 sites at the moment which are listed on the ERIH website, and we have a lot of information there. I think who is regularly on our website knows that it's probably the most complex inventory about European industrial heritage in Europe, with many texts about history of the countries, with description of sites, but also with up-to-date news and calendar of events for conferences, etc. We will also continue to use Facebook as one of our tools. Normally we don't do any paid ads. This is only for work it out, but still we have almost 10,000 followers and we have a very good outreach with our posts. So I think we can easily use this and continue. The last work package, collection and dissemination of data. We always experience how important it is that we can prove that industrial heritage has an impact, an economic impact and a value, especially when you ask for future funding or if you want to convince politicians. This is why we started the Industrial Heritage Barometer. Rainer yesterday presented the results already. You can find the full evaluation of the Industrial Heritage Barometer on our website, where you find all details and all outcomes and results in a PDF version for download. A new section on the website is also the Service and Experts database, where we from now on collected also new digital offers that were developed under Corona, but also there you find different concepts, any ideas you have, or any concept you would like to see there, or you would like to be submitted through this service portal. You can also send to our webmaster, Rainer Klenner. It's webmaster@erih.net. It's quite easy. It's also on the website. So have a look and see what you can use from the information that's provided there. But if you have information that should go up there, do not hesitate to send it to us. Yeah, as an introduction to our conference, I think the Industrial Heritage Barometer, which the results were shown yesterday, we also added this time some questions about COVID, and without taking the content of Julia Pagel's presentation later when she presents the survey Nemo did on the impact of COVID, I would just like to summarize the results. So more than half of the visitors, 56% of the visitor numbers decreased compared to 2019 on average of the sites that answered the barometer. 79% of the sites developed replacement offers, mainly of course digital offers. This is what we see and hear today, and I think what we discussed already yesterday, how to attract visitors while the sites were closed. 28% revenue shortfall in the amount compared to 2019, which means almost 1/3 of revenue that was broken away, and probably for some sites even more. More than 34% of the sites had to reduce their staff. Mostly it was temporary or seasonal staff, but anyway, many of the sites had to reduce staff and still not have the old number of staff back again. 51% received public funding, luckily, and 24% received financial support by other sources, but not by the public authorities. We discovered that especially those sites and ERIH members which are privately owned and managed really suffered even more severe than the publicly owned sites from the Corona crisis, because they mostly are financed only by ticketing or renting out their location. So 12% more public funding in the end through the Corona pandemic situation, and 14% of the sites see their operation on risk for the next years, which means the Corona crisis or the COVID crisis might be overcome, not really, but we are on a good way, I think. But for many of the sites, it is critical if they can still exist in future, because the impact of COVID was so heavily to them that they are in danger to continue their work. So this is why we decided to have this year's annual conference about a topic, because in the end, in the beginning, when we were discussing, most of the board members said, oh, COVID, I cannot hear it anymore. This is a topic that is really overdone in the last 1.5 years. But I think it's very important to discuss what are your experiences, what helped some sites, maybe to find ways out of the crisis, and to be prepared for the future. And when I come back to my first slide, I think these 4 challenges, to address the 4 challenges together, and last night we discussed what are the biggest benefits of being an ERI member, and from my point of view, it's really your know-how and your expertise, because this crowd know-how you have in the ERI network and the exchange of it, we can learn so much from each other and can be so creative in developing solutions for these challenges. So I'm looking forward to today, to the presentations we have in the morning and to the workshops we have in the afternoon. And yeah, hope you have enjoyable days with us here in Ghent. Thank you.